Hello everyone, FPL Raptor here and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. In today's video we have my Game Week 14 transfer plans. This is a video that goes live every single week, usually on a Sunday evening, where I give you some of my early thoughts and react to the previous game week. If you're enjoying the content here on this channel, please do remember to like and subscribe. As I've said for a while, we are on the road to 50,000 subscribers and it would be absolutely awesome to hit that milestone before the World Cup. But without further ado, let's jump into today's video. So in order to have these Sunday evening videos for you just after the football, as always, I have to start recording during the final game. So it's currently half-time in the Spurs versus Newcastle game, and that is a huge game for my rank and for my team because I don't own Kane. I sold Kane a couple of weeks ago, and I own Pope and Trippier. Now at half-time, it's 2-0 to Newcastle. If I get a clean sheet from Pope and Trippier, that would be massive for my rank. Obviously, if Kane scores, not only would that really harm my rank because he's still about 60% owned at my rank, I'd also lose my Pope and Trippier clean sheet. So let's see what happens in the second half. You'll know at the time of watching this what has happened. Fingers crossed, both for Manchester United as a United fan and for my FPL team, Newcastle can win and keep a clean sheet too. With the rest of the team, it's been a pretty shocking week for a lot of teams. Pretty much every major player's blanked, apart from a few differentials, and a lot of us have points on the bench. So as I always say when we have these kind of weeks, let me know down below how many points you currently on and how many points are on your bench, because I think a lot of us have the likes of Andreas, Bailey, etc. There are quite a few players that people have on their bench that have done quite well this week. I've got Andreas first sub, so unless Bowen gets a complete rest, I'm going to have points on my bench as well. Outside of that, the rest of the team did pretty poorly. Cancelo and Foden both blanking. Martinelli blanking. As you guys will know if you tuned into my deadline stream, I did in fact go to the Nottingham Forest-Liverpool game. The atmosphere was amazing. What a result for Forest, but it was pretty terrible for Salah and Firmino. I was tempted by Salah captaincy, really harsh on those that went for it, because we had the team news before the game, before the deadline, and we knew that Salah would be playing centrally. Forest have been conceding goals for fun, and Salah is really, really effective when he plays in that sort of striker role, or at least through the middle. So there were a lot of reasons to captain Salah. Unfortunately, there was a massive swing once again between Salah and Haaland, and it's just the thing that I've been saying is Haaland's data is so good that even with Salah having a great fixture, even with Salah playing through the middle, I still don't think he can compete with Haaland. So that was the reason that I captained Haaland. And again, you probably didn't deserve the swing that you had if you did captain Salah. So unlucky for that one. But I guess moving forward, it probably looks like we should just be captaining Haaland every week. I am slightly disappointed with Firmino. I watched the game live, so I don't know what it looked like on TV. But Firmino had a couple of headers and he had a couple of chances to get returns. And he did also have that in Game Week 12 as well. So I feel slightly hard done by that Firmino hasn't got anything in the last 2 weeks. That being said, he's not an elite finisher by any means, and Liverpool look really poor. So I'm tempted in the next couple of weeks, maybe even next week, to move Firmino out because it was just a bit of a short-term punt, but I think there are some other really good options in those striking positions. Mitrovic did get a goal for me, which was absolutely brilliant. He's been ticking along pretty much a goal every week so far. He's not always getting bonus points, but for his price, I'm perfectly happy if he just gets 1 goal every week. The real hero, though, is Timothy Castagna, who now has 5 clean sheets in a row. Leicester have 4 clean sheets in the last 5, and the one that they didn't get a clean sheet, Castagna was subbed off before they lost a clean sheet. So that's now 5 clean sheets in 5. I think he's had 6 bonus points, and he got an assist this week. So Castagna delivering a 12-pointer for me when he's my biggest differential has pretty much saved my game week. And as a result, at the time of recording this, before Kane ruins my rank in the second half, I'm currently ranked at 566th, and I've got a small green arrow up from 715th. So it will largely depend on what happens with Pope and Trippier in the second half, if Kane gets a return. And also, I still have Bowen on Monday Night Football. Now, there have been quotes from David Moyes which would suggest that Bowen's no longer on penalties after that penalty miss. I still think he could get something against Bournemouth. It's still a decent fixture. Like I said, Bowen is very good at home, and I would be surprised if Bowen gets rested at any point. I think he should start that. So if Bowen gets me something and I get some kind of points from Pope and Trippier, it could be an awesome week. Other than that, I think it'll either be a small green or a small red. So that's the way we're doing in Game Week 13. Let's now take a look at Game Week 14 and my current transfer plans. So as I always say, this is just an early look at the upcoming game week. I'm going to have 2 further videos this week, plus a deadline stream as well, where I'll go through as many of your questions as possible, and also I'll talk about my team in more detail the closer we get to the deadline. This is just an early look. So this is how my team's currently lining up ahead of Game Week 14. I'm in a 3-4-3, as I have been most weeks. My team value's up at 103.9, which is really high, and I'm really happy the way that that keeps stacking up. And I've currently got 2 free transfers, so I think I'm in a pretty good position for Game Week 14. And if I look at my starting 11, there are absolutely 100% some improvements I can make. But I think the starting 11 plus 2 really strong subs this week, again, I could get away with not making a transfer, or only making 1 transfer and once again rolling that second free transfer. And again, I've been trying to drive it home this season, and it's something that's really helped me. If your team's doing okay, which again, you have to rely on your team doing fairly well. If your team's doing okay and you don't need to use a transfer, don't feel like you have to. Like, you can always roll a transfer and it could come in handy the week after. What I would say is we've only got 3 weeks left till the World Cup now, so I also don't mind you getting slightly aggressive. And at the moment, I'm probably planning on using both free transfers and getting a little bit aggressive and attacking Game Week 14, because even if it doesn't go very well, I've only got 15 and 16 to get through, and my team also looks fairly decent for 15 and 16. So if I attack 14 and it goes wrong, I will also have a free transfer going into 15, and even if my team has like 2 or 3 injuries, I should be able to deal with it with my bench. So I might get aggressive this week and use both free transfers. I don't think I'll be taking a hit though, because the 11 looks good. At the moment, obviously, Pope and Trippier double up is looking fairly good every week, especially this week, Aston Villa at home. Although Aston Villa looked brilliant in game week 13. When, as soon as Gerrard sacked, they just start scoring goals. Who would have known? Who would have known? I've got, at the moment, Doherty against Bournemouth. It will depend on what Spurs do in the Champions League. It will depend on how well Emerson Royale plays today. He hasn't looked fantastic so far. I do think Doherty is first choice. So I think there's a small chance Doherty plays this, depending again on what happens in the Champions League. Bournemouth away is a decent fixture. So at the moment, he's in my starting 11. Cancelo, yes, hasn't kept as many clean sheets as we would want this season, but I don't think I'm going to sell him. The only player that I think I would want to sell him for is maybe Trent, but Trent doesn't look nailed at the moment. Obviously, just coming back from an injury, and Liverpool just don't look fantastic either. So I think I'm happy holding Cancelo until the World Cup. The midfield 4 looks absolutely fine. Bowen, Foden, Martinelli, Salah. Bowen and Salah are the 2 that I would be tempted to sell. If I sell Bowen, it would probably be for Saka, right? Saka against Nottingham Forest looks pretty good this week. But after Manchester United away, Bowen has 2 home fixtures before the World Cup, Crystal Palace and Leicester, so I could keep Bowen. The other option I've got is Salah just doesn't look great at the moment. I don't want to ever captain Salah, and he's not worth the money. And I'm not even scared not owning Salah. So there's a small chance I actually sell Salah this week. The reason I say that is what I could do is I could sell Salah and Andreas, and I could bring in like Saka and Zaha. That could work really well. I would then have to bench one of my attackers, and it would probably have to be someone like Mitrovic or Firmino. So that's the only reason I'm maybe not tempted to sell Salah to then upgrade Andreas, because it means I have to bench a pretty good attacker. So I guess that's an option as well. The front 3 looks okay. Mitrovic, Haaland, and Firmino. At the moment, I'm also tempted to sell Firmino. Again, if he plays against Leeds, it's a decent fixture, and he has been getting chances. But I also like the look of 2 players. I like the look of Jesus and Tony. Now, yes, both of those are on 4 yellow cards. They could be banned. But they've also both got some really good fixtures coming up. Obviously, Tony's got Nottingham Forest in game week 15, and Jesus has Nottingham Forest in game week 14, and outside of that, the fixtures are decent enough as well. So I'm tempted to switch Firmino to one of those 2 strikers too. And then the bench is looking absolutely fine. I'm perfectly happy having Mark Gahey first sub. Andreas against Everton at home is a decent fixture, and Castagna has just been so good that I'll just put him 3rd sub this week, and then maybe bring him back in for game week 15 and 16. So I guess at the moment, looking at my team ahead of game week 14, the current plan is probably Bowen to Saka. I'm very, very tempted to do that. And then maybe also using the second free transfer on Firmino to Jesus or Firmino to Tony. So I could technically be lining up with triple Arsenal attack against Nottingham Forest. Yes, Nottingham Forest have improved defensively, but I also think they've been fairly lucky in the last 2 games to not concede. Brighton accumulated quite the XG, and so did Liverpool. So I think, yes, they've kept 2 clean sheets, but maybe slightly lucky to do so. Arsenal are still a fantastic attack. They created quite a few chances against Southampton, so I don't have an issue with going into this game with triple Arsenal attack. So that's the current plan. Bowen and Firmino are the 2 that I'm probably looking to sell potentially. If it looks like Doherty might be benched in game week 14, I can either play Gahey, or I could use a free transfer to do Doherty to White. Right, that could be another one, and then I could get into the Arsenal defence. So that's the current transfer plans. Let's move over to Fantasy Football Hub so that you can see what that would make my team look like, not only for 14, but for 15 and 16 as well. So just to extend the previous section, just going to show you what those transfers would look like and how that might affect my team for 14, 15, and then 16, because we only have 3 weeks now until the World Cup. And by the way, I'm super excited for the World Cup. Had a few questions around World Cup fantasy. Assuming there is a game, which we are expecting, and assuming you guys want the content, I will probably do at least 1 or 2 pieces of weekly content on the World Cup before we then have FPL coming back from game week 17. So looking at the team, I think Bowen is a really tricky one, right? Let's see what he does on Monday night, but I guess that shouldn't impact my thinking too much. If he's not on penalties, he's also not on some set pieces due to Cresswell being on a lot of them. I do wonder whether, the fact his data's not great, West Ham still don't look fantastic, and he's not on pens. I know he's got 2 home fixtures in 15 and 16 against Palace and Leicester, and neither defence have been great, but they're also not bad defences, and I don't think Manchester United away is a great fixture. I think this might be potentially the time to take him out. So I think at the moment, my plan will be to do Bowen to Saka at least as one of the transfers. If I do that, I've then got the second option of, do I then want to use my second free transfer to take out Firmino or Doherty? So it would either, if it looks like Doherty's not going to start, it would be Doherty to White probably. I do have just about enough, I think, to do, no I don't, to do Doherty to Gabriel. So it would have to be Doherty to White. I could do Tomiyasu if I want to. I just feel like White is a little bit safer. And then the other option I've got is Firmino to Jesus. I feel like that's the higher upside pick. So I think maybe even if Doherty is out, I can of course just do Doherty to Gahey, like on the bench, like that, right? And bringing, because I think Southampton at home is a fine fixture. So let's say I do in fact start Doherty, because I do think he should hopefully start. And then let's say I do Firmino to Jesus. Yes, that is like putting all of my eggs in one basket and expecting Arsenal attack to do well against Forest at home. But that is a really nice position to be in, right? Triple Arsenal attack against Nottingham Forest at home. I'd also have double City attack against Leicester away. I would still have Salah against Leeds, and in the hope that he somehow rekindles something from last season, and Mitrovic against Everton at home. The entire defence is looking good as well. I'd be really, really happy with that team. That would put me into game week 15 with only one free transfer and 0.4 million in the bank. So at this stage, the only sort of position in my team which I really don't like here is Doherty against Liverpool at home. You will note that I would then have triple Arsenal attack against Chelsea away. I almost don't mind that. That's a game where you could see quite a few goals. So I've got two options here. I can either take out one of my Arsenal attackers if I want to, because they've got Chelsea away and Wolves away, and maybe that's not the best set of two fixtures to have a triple attack. So I could then take out one of Saka, Martinelli or Jesus, although I've just brought them in, or I could take out Doherty, or I could take out Gahey and then bring in a decent other defender, because I don't think Gahey against West Ham away or Doherty against Liverpool at home is great. What I would say is Doherty against Leeds away in 16 is quite a nice fixture, so maybe I would want to have him for that. So I think what I might be tempted to do is maybe bring in Gahey and then take him out. But of course, he's then got Forest away in 16. So maybe I just start one of those two defenders and maybe I just rock with this team. So the team would look something like this. It might be that I want to start Doherty against Liverpool. It's not great, I will be honest, but I don't think I need to make a transfer here. And I quite like the idea of rolling a transfer. So what I would be doing is going into game week 16 with two free transfers where I could take two quite exciting punts. And one of those would probably be to take out Mitrovic against Manchester United. So I could take out Mitrovic against Manchester United, bring in any striker that's got a decent fixture in game week 16. And I could also maybe take out one of my bench options and then bring them into the starting 11. So I think the team's relatively well set up. What I need to decide is, I suppose, is it worth bringing in both Saka and Jesus to really attack that Forest fixture when you consider the fact that their fixtures in 15 and 16 against Chelsea away and Wolves away aren't that great? I suppose the other option would be, rather than bringing in Jesus, I could bring in Tony. Because obviously, if I bring in Tony, Wolves at home is a really nice fixture there. And assuming he doesn't pick up his 5th yellow card, if I then go into game week 15, he's then got Nottingham Forest, whereas, of course, Arsenal have Chelsea. So the other option is to bring in Saka, yes, but to bring in Tony instead of Jesus. And Tony's been putting up some pretty good underlying data. So I have a few options. I haven't fully committed to anything yet. It's obviously Sunday afternoon. I've got a long way to go until the Game Week 14 deadline. But those are some of the things I'm thinking about. Feel free to offer me some advice down below. What would you do with my current team? Would you be taking Bowen out? Would you be taking Firmino out? Would you use both free transfers? Because I don't have to use two again. I can just use one and roll the second one. Always interested to hear your thoughts. And as always, let me know what some of your early dilemmas are in the comments down below. So guys, there you have it. That is my Game Week 14 transfer plans video and some early thoughts ahead of the upcoming game week. If you're enjoying the content on the channel, like I said before, please do remember to like, comment and subscribe. All of those things help to feed the algorithm gods, and I would absolutely love to hit 50,000 subscribers before the World Cup. Until next time, thank you very much for watching. Cheers. Bye-bye.